So starting Unit 4, the word geometry actually means the measure of the earth. Like that is what the word translates to. And there's a lot of different ways that we can use geometry of three-dimensional objects. So if we wanted to paint a room, we need to know how much square foot it had. If we wanted to cover it in carpet, we need to find the area. If we wanted to know how much water the pool needed, we need to find the volume. So there's a lot of different ways that we're going to use studying geometry to help us with actual three-dimensional objects. So when we were talking about just thinking back to two-dimensional figures, we have the length and the width of a two-dimensional figure can be measured. But for a three-dimensional figure, the length, the width, and the height can be measured. So we can actually also graph in 3 dimensions. So the Cartesian coordinate system can be applied to three-dimensional objects. Cartesian coordinate system, if you recall from the 3rd chapter, is just graphing. Instead of 2 axes, the coordinate system has 3, and they are x, y, and z. So if I use x and y to represent a point in 2 dimensions, then I would use the ordered pair x, y, z to represent a point in 3 dimensions. If you're having trouble imagining this, this would be an example of a 3-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system. You can imagine also kind of like the corner of a wall with the very corner being 0, 0, 0. So down here. And you still plot your points. You'd go over the x value, out the y value, and then up to the z value. So it's very abstract in thought. I get that. True or false? A point has 1 dimension and a line has 2. That is false. A point has no dimensions and a line has 1 dimension. And it is true that the principles of 2-dimensional geometry can be applied to 3-dimensional solids. A couple other things you want to write down you need to recall is that a plane is 2-dimensional. That's the x and the y axis like we've been graphing. And the last thing is that things that are 1-dimensional, anything that's 1-dimensional would be a line, a ray, a line segment, because all of these are just different types of lines. Recall, a line goes on forever and ever, a ray goes forever in one direction, and a line segment just has stopping points, but they're all just 1-dimensional. And lastly, don't forget that you cannot graph anything 3-dimensional in 2D. You cannot graph anything 3-dimensional in 2 dimensions.